Hello, Sunshine. I'm Alexi, and welcome to the State of the Union podcast, where I look at the beautiful game on and off the field through the lens of red, white, and blue-colored glasses. Joining me, as always, my friend, my colleague, my guiding light, David Mosse, a soccer savant and a Fox soccer researcher and writer extraordinaire. Thank you, as always, to State Farm for presenting this. How you doing, Mosse? We come to you at the end of the England-Australia game.
And then there were two.
Look, dark days indeed, my friend. England has made it to a World Cup final. They are potentially 90 minutes away from winning a World Cup and having it for reals come home. And me realizing just, the biggest nightmare I could possibly imagine. Having said all of that, it is deserved. They were the better team today against Australia from start to finish. I thought that they were stronger, literally stronger, in that I thought that they bullied Australia. I thought that they were smarter in the way that they played this Australia team and in the way that they took their chances. I thought that they were obviously ruthless in the way that they finished the chances and the gifts that were given to them.
On the plus side, the 99ers can pop the champagne 72 Dolphins style. They remain the only host team ever to win the Women's World Cup.
Oh, wow. They're probably sitting back thinking about that. Now, from a big picture standpoint, as we've said before, this is going to be fun because come Sunday night, we will have a brand new champion of the world. It's good not just for the World Cup. It is good for, I think, the women's game. And two worthy opponents, and as I said, two worthy teams in this final. But it does set up a really, really interesting game. Before we get to that, a little bit more on this England-Australia game. Big news coming out before in terms of the lineups. Sam Kerr did start, so Ari Hinks got her way. Carly Lloyd had said she wanted Sam Kerr to come off of the bench. Now, they both were kind of right in that, yes, Sam Kerr had that magical moment, and it was wonderful in terms of the goal that she scored. And in that moment, you think, oh, here comes Australia. But, she was active and much more active than we have seen in the times that we have seen her in this tournament. But ultimately, it was just not enough from a team collective type of performance for this Australia team.
Managers throughout this World Cup have been confronted with that dilemma of, do you insert a star back into the lineup, even though the team played well without her? We saw Spain backfire with Putellas in the other semifinal. Early in the tournament, Norway had that dilemma with Ada Hegerberg. And it was interesting that Gustafsson went with Kerr from the start. And to your point, in the first half, I thought Australia was overwhelmed by the occasion. They got bullied by England, and Sam Kerr wasn't all that effective. And so you were thinking that it might have been a mistake. But then in the second half, Australia came out a different team, and Sam Kerr was super active, scored a great goal, which did take a slight deflection. We were debating how much that detracted from the goal.
That's right.
But nevertheless, by the end of the game, you didn't feel like it was such a mistake to start her. But at one point, it did seem like maybe that decision had...
It seemed like the tide was turning, and then they shot themselves in the foot. I mean Australia. We should say, the first goal from England, it was one of those classic moments, and it's a throw-in, and it's a set piece, and ultimately, the switching off that happens in players, oftentimes when it comes to a throw, and the ball goes out of bounds, you think, okay, I got a moment to rest. Well, you don't have a moment to rest, and then they compounded things in the back there by not defending and ultimately leaving people wide. And when Ella Toone got that opportunity, that was incredible. Nobody's saving that shot or that goal. But how it got to there has to be maddening in terms of coming off of a throw-in. So that damage is done. Then, as you said, Sam Kerr ultimately provides a moment of magic with a shot from long distance that goes in. We all think everything's changing. And then Australia, rather than kind of kick on, turn around and yet again shoot themselves in the foot. So minutes later, Hemp pounces on this, what has to be just described as a gift. Because Bright hits this long ball. It's probing. It's in the general direction. But then Carpenter, who would not have a good day over that right-hand side, kind of tries to shield it and doesn't do anything ultimately. And Arnold doesn't come off of her line to get the ball. And ultimately, it just falls, like I said, as a gift. But this was not something necessarily that England created. They'll take it because they're ruthless, but it wasn't something spectacular or magical that ultimately resulted in this goal.
Yeah, Ellie Carpenter with a huge mistake. Lauren Hem pounces. If Ellie Carpenter was a man, I'd really come down on her. But as you know, because she's a woman, I'm going to take it easy.
You pull your punches when it comes to that. Okay, we've established that. But I won't. And that was a huge mistake, and that was abysmal defending from Carpenter. And Arner, for that matter, not coming off of her line to do that. So now it's 2-1. Now, again, you're saying, all right, what happens now? A couple different balls into the box for Sam Kerr, but nothing really materializing. And then as Australia starts to push forward, even with the substitutes, with Vine coming on and others, didn't really change the complexion of the game. Although there was one opportunity that Sam Kerr had off of a corner kick. It dropped right to her, and she skied it. I mean, there was a golden opportunity right in front of the box that she will be ruining probably for a long time from now. Ultimately, they get their third, as we mentioned, settled in 90 minutes, and England go on.
Beautiful, the third goal. The pass by Chloe
wonderful.
Kelly, nice finish by Alicia Russo. So, yeah, no questions about that goal at all.
All right, so we're going to take a couple days off and come back and do a show after the third place game. It'll be much more of a kind of prep show and a look ahead to the final going forward. Are you even thinking about the third place game?
Not really.
Not really. Not really.
It's a good one, Australia-Sweden, but...
It is, and we have this conversation anytime there's a tournament about the meaning or lack of meaning there is when it comes to a third-place game. And yes, ultimately, if you win it, it means something. If you don't win it, it didn't mean anything. And it is an incredible letdown, and the mentality that you have to go into a third-place game and ultimately give it the attention that it deserves sometimes is lacking.
Although you always say one of the great regrets of your career was not having taken that third-place game in the '95 Copa America seriously against Colombia.
I do, and at the time we were being coached by Steve Sampson, and we were making this incredible run through Copa America, and this was obviously back in the day. And I'll never forget that Bora Milutinovic, our previous coach, came up and talked to me later about that tournament. He said, you guys let something go. You had an opportunity there to finish third. And for the United States team to finish third rather than fourth, it does matter. And he made a lot of sense. And it's about mentality. And some teams have it, some teams don't. We'll see what Australia playing, I think, in their home country. It's still going to be a big crowd. There's still going to be, I think it'll be much more of a celebration in totality of what they've done as opposed to the specific game. But look, in my expert opinion, third is better than fourth. And so if Australia, or in this case, Sweden, can possibly finish third, I think that they will. I think it'll be an interesting game. Usually they're a little bit more wide open than the finals. But we will probably use that third place game to promote and prepare and preview what's coming on Sunday in terms of the final. We're going to have Ari Hinkst, evidently, and Stu Holden on that show on Saturday. And like I said, it will preview. But as you start to look forward to this matchup, I think it's intriguing. Two very, very different teams. As I said, two teams that are vying for their first Women's World Cup. What piques your interest in terms of this matchup?
It's a great game. It's a rematch of a quarterfinal at the Euros in which Spain was the better team for much of the match, but England ended up advancing 2-1 in extra time, and so we'll see how this one goes. And it's interesting that both these teams can point to missing players and say, boy, it's incredible that they're here, given the fact that they weren't able to really put their best foot forward at this tournament for different circumstances. I am absolutely enamored with the job that Serena Wigman has done to lose players like Beth Mead and Leah Williamson and Fran Kirby, and then lose Lauren James to suspension, who had emerged as their breakout player at this tournament. Ella Toone steps in for her, and lo and behold, she scores. And you're seeing players who were super subs at the Euros, like Ella Toone and Alicia Russo, emerge as starters at this tournament and do well. And now Serena Wigman has a decision to make regarding whether she puts Lauren James back in the lineup. And I sort of think whatever she decides will probably be the right move. She has 100% trust with me at this point. This is her second straight World Cup final, incidentally. She took the Netherlands to the final.
It's a hell of a cycle for her, by the way.
US.
Two finals and a win in a final in the Euros. So.
Yes. Well, and she won the Euros with the Netherlands in 2017 and went to
a couple cycles.
Incredible job by her.
Do you think she's justified in not starting Lauren? And in a sense, a Wally Pipp type of situation here. Not injured, but obviously she got the red card and hasn't been with the team? Or is this a Sam Kerr type of situation where it doesn't matter, we are better with her on the field?
No, given the way Toon played and the goal she scored, I think it would be defensible if she held Lauren James. And that would give them a good option off the bench, which is something that this England team, other than Chloe Kelly, there's not a whole lot else there on the bench. So if you don't start Lauren James, that does give you a weapon to bring on in the second half if you need her.
Sarah Wegman, she's incredible, like you said, and she's been incredibly successful, and therefore she is going to be coveted going forward. Obviously, I think the U.S. Soccer Federation, if and when they make a change, she would certainly be at the top of that list.
And great backstory. She played at North Carolina alongside Mia Hamm and others, and cites Anson Dorrance as the major influence in her career. So there's very much a U.S. connection.
Yeah, she knows it, and again, I think this plum job sitting out there of now that the U.S. went out historically failed in this World Cup, the ability to kind of bring them back to the top. I think that would be appealing to her or anybody else. But I think she's going to have a lot of suitors. I think she's going to have a lot of people that recognize her, both in the men's and the women's game, to possibly have her come lead.
We discussed the Jorge Vilda situation on the last pod. I said then that 15 players mutinied. Only 3 came back, which meant that the 12 others chose not to come back. I read some articles on that today. This is unconfirmed, but there are reports that a handful of others wanted back in as well and just weren't selected. So it's a little fuzzy as to how many stuck to their guns and how many would have played at this World Cup had they been chosen.
So the ones that weren't selected ultimately, because since some were selected, it's not as if I don't think that they went and groveled. It was relative to their ability here. So if you weren't selected, it was not only had you gone against the federation and the coach, but you also weren't good enough to have that be overlooked.
Yeah, I mean, for those that mutinied and wanted back and didn't get picked, they essentially got Wally pipped while they were gone.
Yes.
Some other player merged, and the federation felt like they were okay without him.
And by the way, this is the ultimate Wally pip of going to a World Cup final for Spain right now. We said last night that they're definitely at home hate watching right now. But I will be, I think, cheering for Spain right now in terms of this final. But again, this is an England team that I can scream and yell all I want. But I guess what's irksome to me, and the most irksome, is that they are really good. And you mentioned them bullying Australia today. It was from the first whistle, and it wasn't. I hate to. It's not dirty. It's not dirty. But it is, from a physical perspective, stamping your authority and your presence from the very, very moment that you get on the field, and not letting any tackle go by, and really, kind of getting stuck in. And I know that's a classic type of way of looking at a style of play, and in particular, traditionally, when it comes to England. But they're much more than that. But I think they recognized that they needed to do that to kind of dampen the crowd and get, I talked about the magic spell that this Australia team was under, and they came in and they broke that spell the minute that whistle blew. So congratulations to them. All right, anything more on this England-Australia game, my friend?
No, yeah, we bid farewell to Australia. It's been a great story. Somber mood among some of the crew here. You could tell that this whole nation was really gripped by this team, and so it's a sad way for it to end.
And sometimes it takes time to really understand the impact. And there's the initial impact that we're feeling, and everybody going crazy, and there will be the tomorrow and the post-mortem, and this is the problem. But no matter what, this team will be remembered. This Matildas team will be remembered. And we see the scenes of young girls and young boys in the stands. They will tell you where they were when Vine scored that penalty, or when Sam Kerr scored that incredible goal against England. And ultimately, it didn't come out where they are holding the trophy at the end of this incredible saga. But the impact that they have had and the influence that they had is evident now, but I think it will become much more evident as time goes on.
And we do have, for the first time since 2003, an all-European final. It was Germany-Sweden back then. Now it's England-Spain. So again, that theme I've been talking about all tournament, about Europe really stepping up, the growth in the women's game at club level, and whether that would translate on the World Cup stage, and it has. So that is a larger sort of theme here if you think about the U.S. and what they're going to have to contend with moving forward.
All right, should we move on?
Yep.
All right, so, hey, by the way, any of your Brazilian friends out there take issue with your Neymar comments yesterday?
No, but some Saudi Arabians did.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I mean, I just gauging by some of the comments on social media, they weren't too happy.
They weren't happy that you completely poo-pooed and disregarded the Saudi Arabian League?
No, but it is Neymar mania. I was watching the pictures today of the stores and his jerseys selling out everywhere, so they're very excited to have him.
Well, it's, we'll never see him again, according to you, with the national team because he doesn't deserve to be with the national team.
I said that if it was me, I wouldn't call him up, but the coach, Fernando Diniz, is a big fan of his, and speculation in the Brazilian media is that he is going to continue to be called up.
Okay. Let's move on to Messi. He just keeps scoring. 9 goals, I think we're at right now in the Leagues Cup that continues to roll on.
Yes, Inter Miami brushed aside Philadelphia. They are in the Leagues Cup final. They will face Nashville, who beat Monterrey. So an all-MLS final. Now, there's some debate about this. Great goal or goalkeeping mistake?
Goalkeeping mistake. But, it's by one of the great goalkeepers in MLS history, by the way.
Yeah, Andre Blake.
Andre Blake there in Philadelphia. But look, Messi, it writes itself. It's just incredible that he has transformed this team that he is playing with. Yes, in the context of a intra MLS tournament, but still, whether it's home, whether it's on the road, not only do they win, but he continues to perform and he continues to score goals. And this is wonderful. I guess it bodes well for when this tournament is over. Speaking of this tournament, Nashville also won at home. That place was packed, by the way, against Monterrey, and I watched that from my hotel room here in Sydney. And, Hani Mukhtar is worth the price of admission, and he was all over the place. Wonderful, wonderful job down there. So it's going to be Nashville hosting Inter Miami in the first iteration of the expanded Leagues Cup in 2023.
Messi and Dani Alves have had this battle over who's going to finish as the most decorated player in football history. I think they're tied right now in terms of trophies for club and country, and I did not think this story would be settled with Messi winning the Leagues Cup while Dani Alves is languishing in a Barcelona prison. But that's where we are right now as far as...
Do you think that in any way the dominance... it's not a resurrection, it's just the dominance of a great player in MLS and Messi scoring so much and so consistently right now is for lack of a better word, a problem for MLS?
Well, that's been the running discussion since he got going. Yeah, I mean, you would like him to have a bad game here and there.
But I part of me gets that, and the other part of me says, well, why? Why? I mean, it's Messi. He's doing what you pay him to do and what you want him to do, and doing it in a completely different situation. It goes back to Mosse, and I get it because I've been there, and I will raise my hand that at times I am guilty of this. We're so sensitive, and we're so worried about what others think of our soccer and our league and our culture, and I don't give a crap anymore. All right? I just want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy Messi scoring goals and not have to ascribe, value or devalue as to the teams that he's playing against or the situation or the marking or all that kind of stuff. It's sports. It's a league. Just sit back and enjoy it. And I know people can't. And part of me says, I get it. Because we're so concerned about credibility and we're so concerned with how we look in other people's eyes, especially around the world, and even domestically in the way that we look at each other and ourselves. But it's exhausting.
Well, to bring it back to the Saudi Arabia thing, I continue to say Messi's decision to come to MLS and to turn down all that money, he was offered reportedly $500 million a year. It's really looking like a goal line stand for people who are against the whole Saudi Arabia thing, because imagine if he was there too with Ronaldo and Neymar going there now and Benzema. I mean, it would be pretty remarkable.
It would be something, but maybe this is just a comment on how big of a brand he is. Do you think that what Messi has done so far from a cultural perspective has been more substantial and has resonated more and cut through globally than certainly what Cristiano has done, but what everybody is kind of doing right now in Saudi Arabia? I just get the feeling
yes.
And I know we wear our MLS heart on our sleeve, or at least I do, but I feel like it resonates more. It's been more apparent.
I agree.
You think?
I do, yeah. I think MLS got the biggest fish of them all, which is Messi, and they got him just a few months after he won the World Cup. And so what he's doing in MLS, I agree, is resonating globally more than what any of those players are doing in Saudi Arabia.
I think it's the word I was looking for is relevant. I think MLS with Messi right now is more relevant than Saudi Arabia with Cristiano and all the other different players that are there. Now, over time that might change, but I don't know, what does Saudi Arabia do here to make people tune in and care?
Well, I have to say, I think they're on that path. I'm gonna end on a conciliatory note with Saudi Arabia because I know they're mad at me.
Well, they got to.
But
huh?
no. What they've been able to do in just a couple of windows, and they're gonna keep at this. And I think a couple more windows like this, and we're gonna look up, and there's gonna be no around it. That's gonna be sort of the most star-studded league in the world, and then you're going to have to stand up and take note. I mean, you're now reading that Mo Salah's probably going to go there, if not this summer, probably next summer. I mean, so you stack up enough star player, people can say whatever they want, but it's going to be a league to follow. The same thing happened with Live Golf. The first guys that went, people said, boy, really, Saudi Arabia? But enough guys went that it became must-see.
So you do think that it's going to be relevant and credible
Absolutely.
in the eyes of the world right now as it goes on. And simply because they have more money than anybody and they're splashing it around and they're just going to just
already
amass.
On Twitter, I'm seeing people put together a best 11 of players that have gone to Saudi Arabia and some even building a squad. And it's incredible. I mean, there's a team that has a front three of Riyad Mahrez, Roberto Firmino, and Alan St. Maximin. That's better than half the front threes in the Premier League right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a fascinating, I guess, project, if you will, because, yes, you have the players and yes, you have the money, but then how do you brand it? And how do you continue to, force it around the world and get people ultimately, not just to tune in, but to care and to find it and to, I guess, educate themselves on what it is. And look, we're talking about it right now. So in a certain sense, it's already permeated places that they haven't been in the past. I guess that's a good thing. Anything before we go? We got a couple of days off here. Are you going to do anything?
I am going to Blue Mountains tomorrow. Very excited.
Ooh,
yes.
Nice. Have you planned something, or is it just going to fly by the seat of your pants here?
Well, I'm going with a couple of our colleagues. No, I don't have anything specific planned. Once I get there, I'll just kind of get to lay the land and just kind of a fun, outdoorsy, relaxing day.
Nice.
I did climb the bridge this morning.
Oh, you did?
I did, yeah.
For those that don't know, there's a famous Sydney bridge here, and it's a big bridge. And they actually have tours where you can go up and over the arc. So you're all the way at the top. Now, they take hours to be able to do this, and they strap you in. Why am I telling you this? You tell the story.
Yeah, it's a whole process. I mean, you go through this whole orientation where they give you a suit, and they strap you in a bunch of different places, and they show you exactly how you're supposed to climb the ladder and step
And you're not allowed to take a phone, right? Because they're worried about you throwing crap down on people.
Exactly. You put everything in a locker, and they do take pictures of you there, and then you can buy it afterwards, which I did, and the pictures came out great, so I'm excited about it. I couldn't have asked for better company. I went with the lovely Shannon Barrett.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a great time. It was terrific.
There's different lengths that you can go. There's like a 2-hour and a 4-hour and something. How long did it take this tour of yours?
3 hours. We started at 9 a.m. and we're done at noon.
You spent 3 hours on a bridge.
Yes. It's very relaxing, though. I thought it was going to be more strenuous.
Right.
You get up there pretty easily, and then it's just kind of hanging out and this beautiful view, and you're just kind of taking it all in.
Awesome. All right. Well, listen, we have 2 more days, basically, of this tournament. As I said, the third place game on Saturday, and then the final on Sunday. We're going to take a couple of days off. We'll be back with shows on Saturday and obviously Sunday for the final. We have the final set, and I can't believe it, but my own personal nightmare is coming to bear. I'm putting all of my faith and all of my chips in on Jorge Vilda and company over there with Spain to make sure that this does not happen and that it does not come home to England.
On the bridge climb this morning, there were 3 lovely young ladies from London who were going to the game today. I was chatting them up. Yeah. I have no problem with the English, folks. This is an Alexi problem. I would have no issue with. This is obviously the second World Cup final England has reached, men's or women's. The other one was 1966. And
don't say, really? They won it in 1966?
Yeah,
I hadn't heard.
It might be coming home.
Oh, God, please. Ugh. All right. All right, listen. We're going to get out of here. As I said, we will talk to you again in a couple of days. Thank you to State Farm, as always, for presenting this. And thank you, everybody out there, for reviewing and rating and subscribing and doing all the different things that you do out there when it comes to the State of the Union podcast. We will talk to you again in a few days. And until then, and as always, my friends, size the day. Please don't come home.